Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lincoln Journal Stars 4 Downs. Luke, Mullin, and Amie just coming at you as usual from Memorial Stadium, where we continue to make our assistant coach round tour. And today it led us down to the state of Texas. Well, we're still in Nebraska, but Texas came to Nebraska today, you could say. Tight end coach Bob Wager and, of course, wide receiver coach Garrett McGuire. Got the chance to talk with both of them. And, of course, primary takeaway from Wager, the relationships that he's built in Texas. We know Garrett McGuire has great relationships there too. His coach, his father, I should say, Coach Joey McGuire, was a high school coach, current coach at Texas Tech. But Wager, he's a guy who built a great program there down in Arlington, Texas Martin. And of course, it's going to pay dividends. We've already seen 2 players from his program come here on scholarship. His son Gage, of course, coming as a walk-on as well. And so continuing to see those relationships, he spoke a little bit about how it was a whirlwind for him, coming from Nebraska, going back to Texas for recruiting. And of course, we get the sense he'll be doing a lot of that as we move forward. But, for Garrett McGuire too, he's a guy who comes on here youthful. Some would say, maybe is he ready for the moment, but he's had a lot of big influences in his career, hasn't he? Yeah,
so he dropped like 10-ish names or so, including Joe Brady, who was the offensive coordinator at Carolina, the passing game coordinator at LSU when I was covering LSU, and he's a wonderkind kind of his own right too, so I thought that was really fascinating. But then no one more so right than his dad and Matt Rule. And obviously, growing up in the same house, learning everything from his dad, sleeping in his office. But then, Rule was his college coach. And so just learning from him while he knew that he wanted to be a coach paid dividends. And now they're here together.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was interesting how he kind of talked about playing on wrestling mats was kind of his break from, he was an assistant coach at 12 years old. He's watching this recruiting, he's seeing all this stuff firsthand. So yeah, he might be young, but he's been in that world for a long, long time, basically. And, I thought the other main thing for Coach Wager is why now? He built a great program, as I said, down there in Arlington Martin, won a couple state titles. You get the chance to do that. And it's a lucrative position. It's something that lots of people would love to, be in that spot. And, the question comes up, did he have other college opportunities before this? And, the answer is yes, he did have those opportunities, but the timing wasn't right. Timing was right, family-wise for this, but the other big factor is his belief in some of the human aspects that Matt Rule believes in too. Developing players, of course, for the on-field stuff, making sure they're prepared, but, developing them as human beings too. He spoke about how to teach them to, be better brothers, fathers, husbands, all sorts of things. Very important there for Coach Wager. You can kind of tell that's something you see a lot of the times for high school coaches, the relationship aspect, and he's definitely going to bring that here to Nebraska, a major part of why he came. And the final piece of the puzzle for Garrett McGuire, it's hey, he's grown up in this, of course, but he's coming in, 24-year-old. A lot of these players, 22, 23, what's that dynamic going to be like?
Yeah, he said that for him, it starts with relationships, and that's something that he has learned from the coaches that he's been around, his dad and Matt Rule and all of the other coaches that he spent time with at Baylor and then at Carolina when he was an offensive assistant there. And it's all about those relationships. He talked today about how he had 6 or 7 guys in his office. He's got honey buns, chips, all of these things. And that's where it starts because they're just starting now to work on X's and O's. And once you build those relationships, the other things tend to come.
For sure. And we often think of these coaches, of course, as mentors, but it's important, for players to be comfortable and, somebody your own age. It's a different aspect and a different side of things. But clearly he's well-intentioned. He knows how he needs to build these relationships, earn that trust. And, of course, in Texas, he has plenty of that already. So both those guys, of course, coming from Texas, looking to reestablish kind of that Texas to Nebraska pipeline. We'll see that in the coming years. But next week, hopefully, we'll finish up this assistant coach tour. Still waiting on Coach Rayola and Coach Dvoracek, linebackers coach. So appreciate all of you tuning in to 4 Downs as usual. We'll see you next week.